Hi you guys, how's everyone doing? I hope everyone is well. I'm here to do a quick video on the skills you need to become a social worker. This video might be more helpful for student social workers than people that are already social workers, because obviously if you're already a social worker then you're probably familiar with these skills already, because you obviously be using it in your practice already. Okay, let's get right into it. So I think the first most important thing for practicing social work is active listening. Active listening is important because obviously you need to understand the problem of the client that you're working with in order to be able to help them in the appropriate way. Under active listening comes things like empathy, which is showing that you actually understand where the client is coming from and you do care, and you sort of put yourself in their shoes. Secondly, paraphrasing. It's basically repeating what the client is saying to you just to make sure you're understanding what they're saying, or what they're saying to you is coming across to you the way they want it to come across to you. Thirdly, asking objective questions instead of subjective questions is important. I think it's worthwhile checking on the internet what it means to ask subjective or objective questions, just to give you a better understanding. Another point is body language. Body language is really important. Sometimes we do not realize, because we have certain habits that we do it unconsciously and we don't really think about how it affects the people around us. Little things like sitting with our arms folded like this. If a client comes in and your arms are folded like this, you just seem closed off already, and it will be much more difficult for the client to open up to you as compared to if you appeared calm and relaxed, and just the way you looked is important. So it's important to be aware of that. Welcoming them with a smile rather than like, I'm tired, just go, with an I'm tired, just go look is also important. Another important thing is having advocacy skills. Knowing how to advocate as a social worker is important, because in working with different disadvantaged groups, you realize that there's a lot of things that are not already in place that you might think would be important if they were put in place, so you can help advocate for such things. Also, in obtaining services for clients, because there's such long waiting lists and there's such limited resources, you would have to do some advocacy and show how important it is for the client to receive these kind of services in order to be able to put them on a waiting list or be able to get some kind of service for them. So I think advocacy skills is also important. I think another thing that's important is knowing how to network with agencies. I think it can be a little bit intimidating if it's your first time becoming a social worker, but I think these things, you develop skills in these areas, and you do form some relationships, which is important to hold on to, because then sometimes when you make referrals and things like that, and there's a waiting list and you're able to advocate and you know someone that works there, then they're able to help you maybe push the client up the list, or they might also recommend other services that might be available that you might not have even known about. So I think knowing how to network with other people from agencies is also another important skill to have as a social worker. Sorry if I keep looking down, I've got a note here that I'm looking at. Another thing I think is having knowledge of theories, which is what you're taught when you're still at uni. I don't think you need to necessarily memorize all the theories that you're taught, but just having a basic idea about what these theories mean, because sometimes things around sociology and things like that can impact on the client's problem and where they've come from and all these things, and it's good to have an understanding of that type of thing. So that's when theories come in handy. Also, if you're going to be a social worker who does a bit of counseling, it's important to have some information about theories, so then you're able to apply them in your practice. Another point is you need to have the capacity to set boundaries. I think in one of my previous videos, I think the pros and cons of a social worker, I talk about how attached you can get to a client. Obviously, if you're learning so much about a person, it's easy for you to form a relationship with them. And I think it's important to always remember to keep that relationship professional. Always know what your role is and keep it that way, and know when to draw the line. That's another very important thing to have as a social worker. I think you need to have some knowledge of an understanding around human relationships as well. Obviously, you're going to be forming relationships with so many different people on different levels, so it's worthwhile knowing a little bit about how human relationships form and how people interact with each other and things like that. I think having basic computer skills is also another important thing. As a social worker, it's not always just home visits and speaking to people and things like that. A lot of organizations have systems that you need to get your head around, like systems where you enter notes about clients and things like that. So having basic computer skills is important. We use emails, and you've got to do filing, and you've got to do, which is always the boring stuff, but it's part of the job, so it's important to have some computer skills. I'm sure most of you do. I mean, you're on YouTube, so that part should be easy. And that ties in with admin skills, I guess, like typing, writing things, and basic stuff. So that's another important thing. I think that's it. That was a couple of points that I mentioned there. I hope you guys find it helpful, especially for the student social workers. If you guys get an assignment and you're being asked to talk about the skills of a social worker, you can basically write everything I've said in this video, and I guarantee you get a distinction. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, guys, and thanks for subscribing. I seem to get so many subscribers by the day, and I'm just like, oh my god, wow, I don't realize how helpful it is. So when you guys subscribe, it just makes me feel like, oh, it's actually helpful, and they want to keep seeing more videos. So thanks for subscribing. And if you like this video, like it and subscribe if you want to. Thank you so much for watching. Bye, guys.